The second problem that many German students have is gerund versus infinitive constructions. So let's take a look at these two sentences. I like to go out on Friday nights, and I like going out on Friday nights. In the first sentence, to go is an infinitive. Now we have a difference between a to infinitive and a bare infinitive. I helped him to move. To move is a to infinitive. Obviously, it's the infinitive with the word to in front of it. And I helped him move, which is a bare infinitive, right? So it's the infinitive without the to. And in the second sentence, I like going out on Friday nights. Going is the verb plus ing. That is a gerund. Now, what exactly is a gerund? A gerund has some characteristics of a noun and some characteristics of a verb. So a gerund is noun-like in the following respects. Number one, it can function as both the subject and object of a sentence. I like running. Running is the object. Running is good for you. In the second sentence, running is the subject. A gerund can occur after prepositions. Thank you for helping me last night. For plus helping. I wrote my dissertation on the function of writing. Function of preposition, and writing the gerund. A gerund can be modified by a noun or by a pronoun. Jane's reading is not up to par, but his, let's say Bob's, reading is. Jane's and his, noun and pronoun. The gerund can occur with a definite article. The reading of the will was yesterday. The reading. A gerund is also verb-like in two respects. Number one, it can distinguish between past and non-past. I enjoy having worked for that company is past. I don't work for that company anymore. I enjoyed working for that company is non-past. That means I'm still working for that company. A gerund can also distinguish between active and passive. I like driving to work. I am the one who's doing the driving. I like being driven to work. In that sentence, I'm not doing the driving, but somebody else is doing the driving. They're driving me to work. Now, there are some difficulties with gerunds and infinitives. In order to know which verb goes with which kind of construction, that's a matter of practice. So at the end, there's going to be different kinds of worksheets and exercises for you to just practice and drill. However, there are a couple of pitfalls that I want to talk about now so that you can avoid them or exactly know what to look for when you're using a verb with a gerund or an infinitive construction. The first pitfall is the patterned verb plus object plus gerund. It's a bit of an uncertainty. So let's take a look at the first two sentences. I recalled John winning the lottery. I recalled John's winning the lottery. The first sentence is an object. The second sentence is a possessive, John's. Both of those are correct. You can use them and the meaning is pretty much the same. They're interchangeable. I recalled him winning the lottery and I recalled his winning the lottery. Once again, you have the same distinction, an object and a possessive, and the meaning is interchangeable. They're the same. However, in the next two sentences, one is correct and one is incorrect. Imagine our horse winning the race. Horse, object. Imagine our horses winning the race. The possessive, that's incorrect. Now why? We generally use the possessive in this kind of a construction when it's a person. So our horse, a horse is obviously not a person, it's an animal. Therefore, it's imagine our horse winning the race and not imagine our horses winning the race. So if it's a possessive, it's a person. If it's an animal or something else, you would use just the simple object. Second pitfall, or the second thing to watch out for, is object or no object. So the following verbs need an object before the to infinitive in the active sentence. So the verbs advise, allow, believe, cause, command, enable, encourage, force, invite, order, persuade, remind, show, teach, tell, and warn. These are obviously very common verbs in the English language. My parents encouraged me to work hard. He persuaded us to go with him. We reminded him to take out the garbage. You can't say, my parents encouraged to work hard. My parents encouraged me. My parents encouraged me to work hard. The following verbs cannot have an object before the to infinitive. Agree, consent, decide, fail, hope, manage, offer, pretend, refuse, start, threaten, and volunteer. They refused to accept my apology. He threatened to sue me. I volunteered to drive Dave home. You can't say he threatened me to sue me. It doesn't work. He threatened me, or he threatened to sue me. Object and no object too. Let's take a look at this batch of verbs. Advise, allow, permit, encourage, or recommend. If you have a personal object, you would use an infinitive. I would advise you to study harder. The company does not permit people to smoke on the premises. You plus infinitive, to study. Permit, people, object, plus infinitive, to smoke. However, if you don't have a personal object, you would use a gerund. I would advise studying harder. The company does not permit smoking on the premises. You can't say the company does not permit to smoke on the premises. That doesn't work. I would advise to study harder, advise studying harder. The next thing is we have a couple of semantic contrasts. The following verbs have a different meaning when used with a gerund or an infinitive construction. So the verb consider. We considered buying a dog. Consider plus the gerund means to think about. Experts consider the risks to be manageable. Consider in the second sentence, regard as. Object plus the infinitive. Consider the risks to be manageable. Consider buying a dog. Two different meanings. Let's take a look at the next two verbs, forget and remember. I'll never forget seeing Frankfurt for the first time. You didn't forget to pick up Jim at the airport, did you? I remember seeing Frankfurt for the first time. Did you remember to pick up Jim at the airport? Forget and remember plus the infinitive means to think of something, to recall something, to have something in your mind. You didn't forget. Did you think to pick up Jim at the airport? Yes, I thought to pick up Jim at the airport, and I actually picked him up from the airport. Right? And the did you remember means the same thing. And I'll never forget seeing Frankfurt for the first time. And I remember seeing Frankfurt for the first time. The gerund here is simply an object of the verb forget and remember. That's it. Semantic contrasts 2. The verb mean and the verb used to. The verb mean, I just failed the exam, so that means taking it again next year. I didn't mean to offend you. Mean with the infinitive is an intention. I didn't mean to offend you means I didn't intend to offend you. However, the first sentence, I just failed the exam, so that means taking it again next year. That means that the result or the consequence is that I have to take it again next year. I just failed the exam, so what does that mean? Or what is the consequence? What is the result? Well, that means taking it again next year. The second sentence, used to. I'm used to having a long breakfast with my family on Sundays. Used to here means accustomed to. I used to have a long breakfast with my family on Sundays is a past habit. So for the second sentence, I used to have a long breakfast with my family on Sundays. Well, I don't have that anymore. That was something we used to do in the past, regularly, but not anymore. I'm used to having a long breakfast with my family on Sundays. It's something that I do now. I'm continually doing. I'm accustomed to doing. And that's it for gerund and infinitive constructions, or at least the pitfalls when you use gerund and infinitive constructions. Thank you.